Guys, here I am in beautiful semi-scenic Luling, Louisiana, my hometown. It is a small, somewhat suburban town about 40 minutes outside of New Orleans and across the Mississippi River. There is no transportation, no municipal transportation between the GNO area and Luling, so if you don't have your own transportation, you're going to have to hitch. And that is something that a lot of people don't seem to understand. This is the town that I grew up in. It was small then, it is small now. It is difficult if you are a square peg in a round hole here. People really don't understand you, and so a lot of people who don't fit in leave, which is what I did. I am visiting because I am attending Noka's Fest in New Orleans this weekend. I'm tabling there and selling my comics. I've told you guys this about a dozen times. And something that I've always noticed is that people who live in New Orleans do not understand what it's like living in the suburbs or a small town outside of New Orleans. Like, just do not understand. They make a lot of assumptions that are just frankly wrong. I think in the current political climate that I might be enjoying at Noka's Fest this weekend, that's going to get interesting because they've already got a parking situation and I've got a 40-minute drive in, and it's like, how about some parking garages, guys? And they're like, how about some buses? And it's just like, that's not an option. There are none. So, yeah. But this is the 17th of November. We're going to do our 17th Art Soundoff. And over here you can see the lovely, adorable Remy. Hey, Ram! Not interested. Oh, maybe. And today we're going to be talking about work management. And that's sort of one of the reasons why I brought up the Noka's Fest this weekend. I don't manage work. Work manages me. I'm a workaholic. I work from the time I get up until the time I pass out. And I usually work 12 to 13 hours every single day, doing this sort of content, doing stuff on the blog, doing comics, doing panel presentations, doing all sorts of things that sometimes don't seem to come together because the audiences are so disparate. I also do a lot of shows in the southern area. I'm one of those people who decided that I wanted to stay and help improve the South and help sort of bring liberal arts to the South, comics and writing, creative work. So I do live in Tennessee, still South, still very South. So I'm one of those artists who, although I left where I'm from, I'm still in the Southern culture. And so yeah, I do cons in Tennessee, I do cons in Alabama, I do a lot. I come back to Louisiana a lot because it's really important to me to try and bring the things that I learned when I left back, because those are just not things that are options here or that are taught here. So I do try to bring that back, and I often offer it for free because it is important to me that people have access to that, even if they can't afford to pay for it. I came from a family that, while middle class, both of my parents did work, and there was a period of time where my dad was divorcing my mom, and he just tried to take her for everything she had, and she had taught middle school for 20 years. She didn't have a lot. So while they were divorcing, this was a divorce that dragged on for a really long time, we lived on $100 a month, you know. So that's two kids, both of which were teenager, preteens, and an adult woman, and our pet cat, living on $100 a month. So, you know, I did learn how to do that, which is a very useful skill if you're a comic artist. But sometimes it means eating that pride for dinner. Yummy, pride. So yeah, I do come back pretty often, although the shows in this area are changing a lot and not in ways that can support people who are from here or who are returning to here. So unfortunately, my opportunities in Louisiana are drying up, and I don't know if I can continue to keep this on my roster just as a financial thing, because I'm already paying a lot of money to come here. But we're talking about work management and work schedules. So this week I spent almost 6 hours at an airport. And I had to plan accordingly because there wasn't going to be Wi-Fi, and I was going to be sitting in one place for a while, and there's never any outlets. So I brought some of the kid-lit illustration information that I've been working my way through, teaching myself. I brought that, and I brought my tablet so I could do some work, and I did do some work, and I brought my phone, and I just sort of paced everything out so that I had something to do when one thing ran out. And for those of us who basically live at airports, because we travel for the shows we do, because, like, to be really blunt, there aren't a lot of comic shows, comic opportunities here in the southern states. Noka's Fest is a really small show, and it really doesn't pay well at all. So, you know, I do have to save up my money and travel for it. So it also means planning weeks in advance, you know, when I'm going, booking my tickets, trying to get a good deal, trying to get things done and prepared ahead of time. And for this show, I'm presenting a panel like I mentioned to you guys, and that took a lot of time printing out the materials, printing out the blue lines. I'm still working on the slideshow, preparing that demonstration piece that I showed you guys the other day. That all takes time, and that's all time that's not ever, I mean, I'm paying for that time, but it's not ever time that receives any sort of compensation or even acknowledgement. And I know a lot of you guys are going through the same thing. I'm not wang. I'm just saying, like, when you are telling people who do not understand what you do at all, the things that you do, it seems like you get a lot done, so it seems like it's easy, when really you're pulling 13, 14-hour days. You're losing sleep, you're traveling a lot, you're planning months to years in advance. And, you know, it can be difficult to juggle all that. And people keep asking me when book 2 is coming out, and it's like, when I can, because that's something that I'm subsidizing at this point. Right now, I'm subsidizing that entirely. I sell the books that are ready when they're ready. And, you know, like, there's no Patreon for it, there's no Kickstarter for it. I currently don't owe anybody anything for it because I can't, it doesn't pay enough for me to make that the #1 priority that I cancel things for. I still have to try and find outside payment opportunities when I can. So when it comes to the book, with my work schedule and with the blog schedule and the channel schedule, I just can't predict that right now, especially because I'm trying to find outside work in illustration and in kidlit, and just unfortunately Kara's just going to have to get pushed aside and worked in increasingly smaller increments while I work on those things too. So I guess the ticket is prioritization, and unfortunately I'm still at a point where I have to prioritize paying work over long-term projects. I have to prioritize work that pays faster over work that might not ever pay or might pay in 5 years. And I have to do a lot of shows, especially anime shows that require a lot of prep, because I can make money from that and recoup some of my losses. So a lot of my prioritization is based on financial needs. And I'm sure many of you also go through that, but I think some comic people don't like especially in indie, people don't like talking about that, because your comic should be king and it should be more important than making money, and, you know, maybe you just need to learn to live cheaper, and it's just like, okay. Work management. Let's see if I can do this. Probably not. The way I handle my work is with planners, and this is my most recent one because I dumped coffee all over my other one, and this one is pretty good. It has, let me see if I can find what I want. Yes, okay. It has a month at a view, so you guys can see that color coordinating system that I have with blue for blog, and then that reddish highlighter color is for YouTube, and then green is for Patreon. And if it is highlighted other than the Patreon stuff, it's done. It's recorded, it's in the queue in YouTube. I do not write things that are not ready. I also make lists of things that I need to get done ahead of time, and ideas. I really utilize post-it notes, and I have daily to-dos. As you guys can see, they're pretty full. And I don't try to book stuff too far in advance, but but I do, as I know of stuff coming up, I do write it down, and I do try to keep track of it. And there are a lot of days where I just can't get it all done. And I have this problem where it feels like no matter how much I do, it's just never enough, and it's never going to change. My life is never going to change, and I'm never going to be in a more solvent situation. And I often struggle with feeling like I have zero agency over my life. I have all this education, and I can't do anything to change anything. And that is, even if those things are true, those are things I can't dwell on, because they make me incredibly depressed and incredibly anxious, and they tend to trigger anxiety attacks. So I just try to focus on the things that I can change and the things that I can control, and I try to be flexible whenever whenever it is feasible, and just go with it, because I'm not starving, and I have a little bit of a nest egg of inheritance that helps me cover some of my bills. I mean, I'm not in super duper dire straits, and if push came to shove, I could always move back to Louisiana with my family, but I have a feeling that would literally kill any chances that I have of a comic career. I think that would be the 1-2 punch that I would never ever recover from. But yeah, this is how I handle my time. I'm someone who does benefit from routine, but I don't necessarily have the self-discipline or the willpower. My willpower is spent elsewhere. I don't have the discipline and the willpower to get up at the same time every single day and work on things in the same order every day. I think that would just kill me. That would make me incredibly depressed doing that at home, because I am the taskmaster in addition to the workhorse. But when I'm in a work setting, routine works really well for me, because somebody else is determining the importance of what order things are accomplished in. But I do like to start my day with warm-ups. Like I've been doing 3 faces from Human A every day in November, and I probably will only share those with backers, because they're just intended to be practice for me. They're not intended to impress anybody. And I try to do stuff for my Kidlit portfolio every day, and I've been using November NaNoWriMo to write chapter 7 and get chapter 7 betaed and scripted out, and I'm going to try to finish the thumbnails in November. So I do try to use exterior challenges to help add additional structure, and also theoretically give me a community to turn to for help if I should need it, or for encouragement, or a community that I can also participate in. So, and then I use Trello for editing and scheduling videos in the queue, and that's still a work in progress. It's something that's still being figured out. And I don't use Google Calendar because I am lazy and I already have a physical calendar here. But I've been kind of thinking about getting a Bamboo Spark at some point, because it can digitize your notes. So if I could ever get like Google Calendar integration with like a physical calendar, that would be fantastic for me. But yeah, that's basically how I manage my time. I am not a morning person at all. So like the earliest I'll get up is at 11, but I often go to bed at 3, and I usually work from when I get up to when I pass out around 2 or 3. So I'm pulling, 12-hour days, a lot of days. And then when I do cons, my days are way longer than that, because I'm getting up early and I'm staying up. Like I'm getting up at like 7 to leave, to drive, to get to the con, to find parking, to set up my table, to be ready and prepared for when the crowd starts showing up. And then, after the show leaves, a lot of shows you can't just walk out. You got to pack up to some extent, and then you got to go eat something because you haven't eaten all day. And then by the time you get home, it's 10, and you've got commissions, or you have to make new stuff. So convention days are often very much longer than that, and sometimes I only get 4 hours of sleep. And it's terrible, and it's not very sustainable. And I'm not encouraging you guys to do that to yourselves. If you're in a situation where you don't have to do that to yourself, please don't do that to yourself. Please do not think I am encouraging you guys to do that. But I think people think that artists, especially maybe comic artists, are lazy and unmotivated, and it's because they don't know how long it takes to do certain things, and they think we do magic and then we just diddle our thumbs all day after we've done our magic drawing, and they don't know how long those things take. So that's why I am happy to share my solutions, but also my flaws with you guys, in hopes that it can help. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today on the 17th of November. This was my Art Soundoff. For more information about Art Soundoff, check out the description below. I am, like I said, recording in Luling, so updates may be sporadic, but I am going to record something every day and try. So they may all come out as soon as I get back to Nashville. Who knows? We'll find out, right? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry for babbling at you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.